Hi folks, how's your reading going? Today I have a book. It's a very old book. I could actually look up the date. I know I've had this book a very long time. It's got my maiden name in it. First published 1962. I've had it since 14th printing, 1978. I have no idea if I read it in 78 or later, but it's a really good book. Very hard to read because it's about people who are they have lost their minds basically. They've been put in a lunatic asylum, and things have changed enormous amounts since this was first written in 1962, and since the movie was released with Jack Nicholson as the lead character. Excuse me. And some fabulous looking excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. I'm going to blame the smoke outside. There's a fire on the west coast of Tasmania, and why we have the smoke from the west coast of Tasmania all the way up to Melbourne just blows my mind, because it's a very long way. So excuse me. Yeah. Book Dragon. That's me. I hoard my books, never give them up. Well, no, it's not entirely me. Now, the the Indian character, and I use the word Indian in the old context. It's actually Native American. But back in these days, in the 60s and 70s, the Americans used to call them Indians, which totally messed with my mind, because I was thinking of, if they're Indian, then they're from India. But they meant Red Indians, which they're actually Native Americans and First Nations people. And anyway, the guy who plays the other inmate, he's a fantastic looking First Nation, Americans First Nations. I'm sure there are words that go in the correct order. I don't know which tribe he's from. I think he might actually be a Native American. I'm really not sure, but he certainly looks like he should be, from my point of view. Bear in mind, I'm white and I don't actually know what I'm talking about with these things, but that is my thinking. And he does a fabulous job in this movie, the movie of this book. I'm not talking about Jack Nicholson. What I should have done is actually looked up the movie, and I will do that very quickly while I ramble on about nothing, to forget his name, because it just feels so wrong to not say his name when I've said so much about him. And obviously I can't type when I'm trying to talk. So the movie was made in 1975, and the fabulous man who looks just so wonderful, and I have seen him in one or two other things. I can't find him here, but you've got a young Christopher Lloyd. Now, Christopher Lloyd was in Back to the Future. He was the Mad Professor. He does a very nice Mad Professor. Okay, where's this guy? Louise Fletcher played Nurse Ratched. I haven't got his face, and I don't remember his name. Anyway, if you want to read the book and then watch the movie, you'll see what I mean about him. I've seen him in other things. He's just really good. Just plays the character beautifully. So the story they have here for the movie, the blurb. In the fall of 1963, a Korean War veteran and criminal pleads insanity and is admitted to a mental institution, where he rallies up the scared patients against the tyrannical nurse. And that's how it seems to work. It's Chief Bromden. It's on the back of the book. Let me read this out. Chief Bromden, half American Indian, whom the authorities believe is deaf and dumb, tells the story of a mental institution ruled by a big nurse on behalf of the all-powerful Combine. Into this terrifying grey world comes McMurphy, a brawling, gambling man who wages total war on behalf of his cowed fellow inmates. What follows is at once hilarious and heroic. That's a combination of hilarious and heroic. Hilaric? Sorry. Tragic and ultimately liberating. So this book, if you haven't read it, and you can stand really not misappropriating, really poor behaviour and mistreating people badly, really badly, then you will be able to cope with this. Let me have a look. Chief Bromden. Do we have his name here? Chief. No. No. But when I see him, I wonder if he's Miller. Oh, there's no photo there. Anyway, so I've read this a couple of times now, and you might have seen me dusting it off. It's been on my shelf for a long time, and some of those books have a lot of dust. So what I used to do, and I can't remember how far back this was, but it was somewhere when I was early on in my blogging career, I've decided to pick this up, read it, and blog about it. And I would take corners from newspapers and stick it in where I wanted to remember something. I have no idea what I wanted to remember on this page and why this page. Maybe I was using it as a bookmark instead. I have no idea. All I know is this book gets better with age rather than worse. There are some books, once is enough, and others I can just read them again and again and again. Now, of course, I look at it and go, but why? Because of my to-be-read pile, my ever-expanding to-be-read pile. Although I've made great inroads in it this year. I've read about 6 or 8 books or something. I've lost track. So, an interesting thing, I had a cousin, she passed on a few years ago. Very entertaining. And the name in her family was Zantz. No, there's no S there. I've looked at it better. Anyway, Zantz. And one day she saw this man, Saul Zantz, at one of these Hollywood things, and she said, "Oh, he must be a relative of mine. He's as ugly as me." She was very entertaining. So the movie that went with, I'll show you this side, the movie that went with this book was produced by Saul Zaentz, the man I just mentioned, and Michael Douglas. And yes, I believe Saul Zaentz was actually a cousin of my cousin. Very distant cousin. So my cousin is a very distant cousin. But yes, very entertaining. William Redfield. I wonder if he is, because he's actually the main character, the main person of the book. Main person. Seriously, I can do words. I can write. I can speak properly. Chief Bromden, half American Indian. I would write that so differently now. Native American, or this says half Native American. So Chief Bromden is actually the main storyteller in this book. So we see everything through his eyes. And people keep talking to him because you know, don't you talk to someone who's deaf? And he hears and he sees because he can hear, he can speak. He just chooses to pretend that he's deaf and dumb. I really like him. He's such a great man, and played by one of the all-time greats of actors. It is a sad book, though. The end of the book is just, it's sad, and there's a little bit of uplifting at the end, but there's mostly sadness. Just thought I'd show you a book from my teenage years, 1978. Yeah, probably teenage years. Although, if you ask me again, I'll tell you, I'm 18. I've been saying I'm 18 for so long, it must be true. Anyway, enough for tonight. Subscribe down below, or don't, as you wish, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.